Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the City Council meeting of October 26th, 2020 to order. Would you please take the roll?
Becken,
Here.
Johnson, Barry Johnson. We'll come back. Leo,
Here.
Lewis,
Here.
Peterson,
Here.
Trester,
Here.
and Verplank.
Here.
And we'll try Barry again, Barry Johnson.
I see him checking in here.
Okay.
Let's wait a second.
He might be having technical problems because I did see him check in earlier and then now he's blacked out again. So he might be, seems to be going on right now.
There he is. Barry, are you on?
Says he is.
Hello, Barry.
We'll give him a couple seconds and we'll try him again.
Okay.
Barry Johnson, are you here? Mr. Barry Johnson, I can see you. Can you indicate that you are attending?
Looks like you can't hear us.
Barry, raise your hand if you are present. Okay.
Let me try to text him.
Okay.
I cannot hear anybody. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you now.
Can you hear us? All right.
I am
We'll
still
indicate that
clueless.
Barry is present, but having technical difficulties.
I'm going to jump out and jump back in.
Okay.
Can they hear you?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
You
Can you
hear
hear
us?
us?
this is not good. Okay, I guess I'm going on the phone.
Okay.
Uh, Can you hear me now?
We can hear
Yes.
you. You
Okay.
hear us?
I got my headphones on. I guess I'm in.
Okay. You can hear us.
Okay. Marked present. We are all present and accounted for.
All
Barry,
right.
I'm just going to mute your video because we are hearing your video feed. So I've just muted you there, just FYI.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the council meeting of October 12th, 2020. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Chris,
I move that we approve the regular city council meeting minutes of October 12th as presented.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second. This is Jane.
Moved by Peterson, second by Verplank to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Barry? You're muted.
Okay,
There we go.
all right. So I think she said she was getting both feeds, but anyway, Matt, I'd like to make an amendment to the minutes. If we go down to item 5, city manager's comments. There's some very nice anecdotes in there, but I would propose as one of my amendments to strike the last part of the last sentence. So if you go down to kind of the last one, it says broken down by traditional policy, that would amount to 12 sick days, 3 personal days, and 1 week vacation. And I'd say strike the rest of it. Although it's work. So I'm striking which is equal to the amount of time 30 years ago.
Oh.
That's anecdotal. It's good stuff. Talks about the experience of our interim city manager, but I'd like to strike that. And then at the end of the meeting, 18 council comments. There are 2 references to John Vanderbeek, but I didn't know who he was, so nobody will know who he is. So I would say put an addition so that it'll read, Councilmember Lewis requested that council follow up on scheduling a meeting with insert Blue Star non-motorized trail representative John Vanderbeek to present his trail master plan. And I'll go over this with you, Aaron.
Well, Barry, I
Well-
think that's what he's, that's what he's presenting. It's not the Blue Star Trail Master Plan. It's a trail master plan of creating trails in and around Saugatuck.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just need some reference about who he is in a minute, though.
He's
Right.
a citizen.
He's been working on, yeah, it doesn't give me any reference to who he is. That's why I thought he was Blue Star Trail guy. So Mayor Truster commented he had been working with, okay, that's it. Let's go back up. Councilmember Lewis requested the council follow up on scheduling a meeting with John Vanderbeek to present his trail master plan. Let's just give that some kind of reference. Walking path trail master plan. Who's John Vanderbeek?
Well, Garnet,
Citizen.
without the thing in front of me, that we both have seen, I don't remember the name of that project. You?
Yeah, it's the Tri-Community Trail Master Plan. John is a resident of the township, but owns property in the city up on Vine Street. He is doing this of his own volition, putting this
Yeah.
trail master plan together.
Okay, that's good, but I just want some kind of reference about who he is so that, because I didn't know, What's a good way to word that? You got an idea on that one? You said it, I think, Garnett.
Yeah, if you give me I can help. I'll look it up online here. I know he's presenting to the township tonight on this very same thing, so I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah.
He's working with the Outdoor Discovery Center, I believe, to put a master plan of trails, walking trails and hiking trails together for
Okay,
the area.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
yeah, for his walking trail. How about just to present his walking trail master plan?
Sure. I don't think we want it confused with the Blue Star Trail.
No. Well, I was already confused. So, okay, does that sound good, Garnett?
Yeah, that's fine.
To present his walking trail master plan.
Okay, is there a second to the amendments proposed?
Second, Peterson.
All right. Moved by Jonathan, second by Peterson to amend the minutes as stated. Could we call a roll on that?
Peterson,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Trester,
Yes.
and Becken.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, is there any other discussion on the minute?
Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, Aaron, are you good with what I rambled on there on those two amendments?
Yep.
Okay. I'm good,
All right, let's call the roll on approval of the minutes themselves.
as amended.
Minutes as amended. Lewis,
Yes.
Trester,
Yes.
oops, you're supposed to be that. Peterson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
and Leo.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very well. Mayor's comments. Wanted to point out that Sadaba announced that Tuck's Christmas Shop has commissioned local artist Jill Chambers to create a 2020 Christmas ornament with the proceeds going to the Sadaba Sparkle Fund. So we should all get behind that, I think, and you can buy them either at Tuck's or on the Sadaba website. I point out that, remember, we discouraged Halloween trick-or-treating and have posted the Allegan County Health Department guidelines for Halloween on the city's Facebook page and website. And that we'll also have additional police coverage downtown on Saturday night. So we hope we have a safe Halloween in Saugatuck. Regarding the reauthorizing resolution for the Blue Star Trail Tri-Community Committee, we discovered that the resolutions passed by both Saugatuck Township and Douglas did not contain the deadline for the committee, the deadline date of July 31st, only ours did. So as a result, that should enable us to reactivate the committee quickly without further action from our new partners. So I think that's good news. We don't have to have red tape get in the way of getting that committee to meet again. As you know, the governor signed Senate Bill 1108, amending the Open Meetings Act last week, allowing public bodies to conduct virtual meetings for any reason through the end of this year. Starting in January, though, for all of 2021, the bill only allows public bodies to meet virtually under very special circumstances, mainly emergency situations. According to the Michigan Municipal League, legislators are currently working on bills to extend the current virtual meeting rules into 2021, and they'll probably do it for short periods of extension at a time. So the good news is there's a hope that we can continue with our Zoom meetings until, at least until we're out of the woods in terms of this pandemic. MML says the legislature is also working on bills to establish a statewide short-term rental registry. I suppose that's good news, but they're also considering legislation to prevent cities from regulating short-term rentals. The MML is opposing this. So that is something I think we probably want to join in opposition. On the local COVID-19 infection numbers, they're continuing to rise in the state alarmingly. There were 3,338 new cases on Saturday. Now the 7-day average of new cases in Michigan is the highest ever. There's some good news. Locally, no new cases were reported. So the numbers stand at 23 in Saugatuck and 13 in Douglas. Allegan County was also level with about 1,141. So that's good news, bad news right there. With that, I'll go to the city manager comments. Karen?
Hello, I am on the telephone because I lost my internet connection. I inserted under city manager's comments a memo about how the first and second meetings after the election go. The first meeting is November 5. That is a council workshop that will be with the current city council, as well as November 9th with the regular council meeting will be with the current council. And then on the 16th, that is the deadline for new council members and returning incumbents to be sworn in. So they should stop by City Hall sometime on or before the 16th to be sworn in. And then the next council meeting is the 19th for the council workshop. And then on November 23rd is the first regular council meeting that the new council will be seated. Are there any questions?
Hearing none. Any other comments, Karen?
No.
Okay, thank you. Under agenda changes, I would like to add Aaron as a guest speaker to talk about the upcoming election plans. Are there any other changes to be proposed to the agenda? Very well. And I hear no objection to having Aaron discuss the election as a guest speaker. Aaron, you have the stage.
Okay, we're in really good shape right now. We have a total of 890 registered voters as of today. 512 of them have requested an absentee ballot. Pardon me. And of that, 388 have already returned their ballots, with 124 still outstanding. We have spoiled a total of 12 ballots so far for one reason or another. Either it was returned to sender, or the person made a mistake on their ballot and wanted a new one, or whatever. The Women's Club very generously agreed to let us get in there early. So the Women's Club is all set up for the election already, with tape on the floor and signage and stations and all of that. We've got a meeting with our poll workers this Wednesday. And we have plenty of poll workers. We've had so many people volunteer to work this election, we've had to turn them away. And, we've added them to the file to call them for our next election, but we're in really good shape with election workers. And that's about it, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Aaron? Chris?
Yes, Aaron, you said that somebody wanted to redo their ballot. What would be the process for that? Where would they go first to find out how to do that?
So in that particular instance, I had someone who made a mistake on their ballot, and they came into me in the qualified voter file. There's an option to basically say you're spoiling or canceling the first ballot. You cancel it out and you reissue and give them a new ballot.
You give them by hand a new ballot?
Yep.
Okay. All right, thank you.
There was one where I sent the girl, I think she lives in Colorado. I sent her a ballot. She never got it. She requested another one. I sent the other one. She still hasn't got it. And now she's coming here. So she'll be spoiling her second ballot to pick up a third one in person, because she just never, through whatever reason of the mail delays, or I don't know, she thought maybe someone stole her mail possibly. But those have been canceled out. So those can no longer be voted or turned in. They're removed from the system, and she'll get a brand new ballot.
And can somebody come down, say yet this week, and get a ballot from you?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, all the way up until election day, they can stop down and register to be a new voter and or get an absentee vote ballot if they'd like.
Then do they fill it out right there and it goes back to you?
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a quick question. This is Garn.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Aaron. So any instances of attempted voter fraud?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have one that has been turned over to the Allegan County Sheriff and the prosecuting attorney.
Got it.
That's kind of alarming. Any other questions?
Yes, Aaron.
Mhm.
Mayor,
Holly?
thanks for the update. Appreciate it. Will there be any hours that people need to be aware of? Will there be any extended hours, or also, I just want to reiterate what Chris said. So people who would like to vote before Election Day can pop on in, bring their license and get a ballot and still vote. Just vote and turn their ballot right back in.
Yep. Yeah, and there are several options for returning ballots. They can mail them. At this point, with, the threat of there possibly being delays with the mail, I've been suggesting that people either use our drop box or bring their ballot into me.
Okay.
But there will be additional hours on Saturday. I will be there from 8 to 5 to register new voters and issue absentee ballots to anybody that wants one.
Okay. And then Erin, I know you're great at Facebook. Are you kind of letting people know what your extended hours will be, or that they can pop in and get a ballot?
It's updated through the qualified voter file, which is up on michigan.gov. When people go to seek information about their polling place, they'll find it. It also went out in the paper, and we have a notice up, but I can also publish it to Facebook, no problem.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of your strengths. So if we can just kind of hit that, I think that is a good marriage of, your talents and what you're doing. So
Sure.
getting the word out.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Aaron. I know you're putting a lot of hours into this, and I'm sure you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Next item is public comment on agenda items only. If you wish to make a comment, would you get my attention either by voice or waving? And I remind you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And when you get on, please identify yourself and where you reside. Anyone wish to comment?
Mayor,
Go ahead, Scott. Dean?
thank you, Mayor. Scott Dean, 544 St. Joseph Street. Regarding item 5A, term of office starting date, I'd request that the council commit to not selecting the next mayor until a city council meeting on November 20, when the results of the November 3rd election are known and new council members are sworn in. To select a new mayor during what's effectively a 20-day lame duck period would potentially ignore the clear wishes of a majority of the voters of Saugatuck. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I would just point out that that election sequence is dictated by the city's charter, so that's not something we could change. Any other comments? Anyone else wish to make a comment? I'm not seeing anyone, but not everyone's on my screen. One more time, anyone wish to make a comment? Okay, then let's move along to request for payment, approval of accounts payable. Is there a motion?
I'll do it.
Barry,
Yes.
Yep.
Now I
Okay.
gotta find.
in a second?
Mr. Mayor, second
Yes.
Peterson.
Okay. Moved by Johnson, second by Peterson to approve the accounts payable.
Mr. Mayor, I regretfully did not say that the amount is $329,802.90.
Erin, can you bring that up on the screen?
There we go.
One more. There you go.
Thank you.
Any, we have moved and seconded to approve this. Any discussion, questions?
Mr. Mayor, this is Garn.
Go ahead, Grant.
I'm not sure. This is just, I need some education number. Item number 15, the road bond. What is that?
Peter?
That,
Any question today? Oh, you there?
okay.
Yep.
You there, Mayor? Yeah, that $236 is the annual principal and interest payment on the 2009 road bond project.
Got it.
And then there's an interest and a principal payment there. Then there's always an interest payment in May of every year.
Got
We
it.
have until 2028 is the final payment.
Okay, got it.
Okay, any other questions?
Ken, if we can add on that, road bond was actually a voted millage to cover specific major projects in our area. If I recall right, it was primarily for Holland Street and parts of Lucy Street. But Holland Street was a big part of that bond.
Wasn't Allegan also part of that bond?
Well, Allegan was just done the last, or Upper Allegan maybe, yeah. There was several projects. It was well in excess of $1 million.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is Garn again. Not so much a question, but just a request. Every time that I see on here legal fees, I ask for the invoice so that I can see the itemized charges. From here on forward, can we just avoid that and provide the invoices so that everybody can see what the charges are for? Please, thank you.
Okay, well, I don't see a problem with doing that. I don't see a problem with doing it. Any other comments? All right, let's call the roll for approving the accounts payable.
Johnson,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
and Truster.
Yes.
Motion
Accounts
carries.
payable are approved. Thank you. Moving to introduction of ordinances. I'll remind us, because we haven't used this recently, that we decided we were going to have ordinances introduced prior to the meeting at which we would consider them and vote on them so we could become familiar with them. So these ordinances are not voted on tonight, but they will be at a November 9th meeting. Cindy, I think all of these are yours. Could you begin walking us through what we're looking at here?
Sure, I'd be delighted to do that. The first one we have is an introduction to ordinance that makes a correction to a front yard setback reference that references the Manchester Plat for streets that are not in the Manchester Plat. This was initially scheduled for the March 23 meeting, which was canceled and didn't get bumped up to the next meeting. So it's kind of one of those orphan childs that needs to be resolved at the end of the day. And it's just a correction to the reference in the front yard setback. Are there any questions?
Chris.
Hi, Cindy. Does that affect anything on the Campbell project that we will be doing with Douglas?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions on that one? Okay, but Cindy, go on.
Are we gonna do them all at once? That's fine with me.
Yeah, well, we don't have to act on these.
No, you're just gonna schedule them for action at the next meeting.
Right, yeah, the purpose of this was to give additional transparency to the process. And it's an extra week for the public and us to figure out what these are and how we feel about it. The next one is section 143, fence height for corner lots.
Ah, yes, fence height for corner lots. Our former planning commission chairperson was very involved in this amendment, or she was a vice chairman actually. Rear and side yard setbacks for 6-foot fence. If you could go to the page with the photos on it, Aaron, that would be helpful.
All right, I don't have a paper copy here, so let me know what page you need me to go to.
That's it, you got it, it's page 16. If you're on a corner lot, you are restricted in where you can have a 6-foot privacy fence to enclose your backyard. What this ordinance does is give you parity with an interior lot and allow you to enclose your full entire rear yard without violating the ordinance. It's just a little, there's really no downside to this. It just allows you to use your full rear yard and not cut you off at a 20-yard setback for a 6-foot fence on a side yard on a side street. There are provisions in that ordinance to provide visibility protection at intersections. And it's really not that complicated, but if anybody has any questions between now and November 9, I would really encourage them to come and talk to me. As you can see from that attachment to the part of the memo, it shows what's currently permitted and what would be permitted with the proposed change. I don't know, Aaron, if you can zoom in a little bit. Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah. Okay, going back over this, Cindy. So at the bottom one where it goes all the way around, is that fence in front, is that going to be able to be 6 foot high too?
On the second drawing, yes, that would be 6 foot high, allowing you to enclose your entire rear yard instead of cutting you off.
Okay, and then is it an open fence or is it can be a solid fence?
It can be a solid fence. It's a privacy fence like you could have in your backyard if you were not on a corner. Part of the reason for that is because the ordinance defines front yards on a corner lot as being both street dimensions. And this just gives a little further definition to a side yard on a side street to be able to use more of your property. I know it's kind of hard to see on this. Maybe Aaron, if you could zoom in on the second photo a little bit. That area between the property line and the paved portion of the street is usually quite substantial. So you're not going right up to the pavement. You're measuring from the property line. And where the word side yard on a side street is, all that grassy area, you would not be able to put any fence whatsoever.
But on the front, you could go right up to the sidewalk.
On the front, you could go right up to the sidewalk with a 3-foot fence.
That's what I meant.
Yep. Well, you'd have to stay 1 foot away, I'm sorry.
Right,
But
it wouldn't be 6 foot on that side.
No, nope, just the side yard on a side street.
Thank you.
Other questions? Mark? Mark, you're muted.
Sorry about that. On the lower picture, Cindy, where we show the 6-foot fence proposed in the front yard. In the front yard, it's not a side yard. That would also apply to the adjoining property to the left.
Yes, if
Okay,
that's
so-
a corner lot.
Only if it's a corner lot?
Only corner lots get this.
So the corner lot can have the 6-foot fence in front, but the adjoining lot cannot.
You could have a 6-foot fence on a side yard on a side
But
street,
not in the front.
not in the front.
I don't know if I like that, but we'll have discussions about it, I guess.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
please feel free to come and talk to me about it. I have a lot more drawings and more
Alrighty.
information, but this was introduction, so I didn't get too detailed.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Cindy, should we move to section 174?
Yes, that would be the floodplain. In our non-conforming section of the ordinance, if your structure is non-conforming and the structure burns down to the ground, you have the ability to rebuild on the same footprint without a zoning variance or without any further review. But you don't have that same privilege for if you're threatened by flood. And this proposal, again, is one of equity and parity to make sure that if your property is threatened by flood, you can lift it up on the same footprint without a zoning variance or without a special review. There are limits on that. In order to be threatened by flood, your property has to be in the special flood hazard area. And the first floor, the lowest floor has to be 1 foot above the freeboard requirement or less, which is lifting it up out of the floodplain. And that is part of another section of our ordinance that encourages people to remove their properties from the floodplain or their structures from the floodplain. And it would limit the amount of lifting to 3 feet above the BFE or the base flood elevation. We don't want, it's not the intent to say, oh, I want another story on my house, so I'm going to elevate it 8 feet and get another floor. The intent is just to say, I want to preserve my structure. I'm threatened by flood, and I want to lift it up and keep the same footprint.
Any questions?
Yes, real quick, Mr. Mayor. So Cindy, I imagine this is what has happened in some of our Gulf Coast states that have been over the years threatened by rising waters. And it's really kind of a similar situation, right? You're basically preserving a piece of property. You're giving the property owner the ability to replace and preserve their property.
To preserve the property and lift it up out of the floodplain. We actually get credit points for that with our community safety ratings. And it's removing obstacles from elevating your structure and protecting the property that's on the tax roll. If you didn't allow somebody to rebuild their structure after a devastating fire or other calamity, you would kind of remove their property value. And this is just to put it in the same plane as a fire.
Got it. Thank you.
Chris? Chris?
Cindy, have we had that situation specifically come up?
Yes.
Okay, and is this retroactive?
No, but it will start the minute that the ordinance is effective.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mark? You're still muted.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I just want to let you know, we were getting some feedback. I muted everybody. So Mark, I'm going to try and unmute you now. Sorry.
Aaron, keep explaining to people,
All right.
what happened.
I'll check that before I raise my hand. So anyways, Cindy, when you're referencing under your subject line, non-conforming structure, are you referencing the non-conformity being the fact that they're existing in the floodplain? Or is it non-conforming because of such thing as front yard, side yard setbacks, use conformity or something like that?
You're correct. It would be because it's non-conforming as to setbacks. If it were conforming to setbacks, there wouldn't be an issue. It would just be a by right ability to elevate your structure. But a lot of the properties that we have, a lot of the structures are non-conforming because they were built before there was zoning and before there was FEMA. So we did have one that wanted to elevate their structure. The Zoning Board of Appeals said, no, you have to move it to be compliant. And this is to remove that obstacle so they can protect their property value and preserve the structure.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Then we'll move on to section 154. I'm not going to read all those numbers. The land usage zoning code. That's the big one, right?
That's the one that was very complicated. And that's the one that was done in June, right before I had to take on a lot of election responsibility. And it's complicated, not because it's controversial, but because it had a lot of little moving parts. For example, bed and breakfasts were not allowed in the Water Street East Zone District, but yet that was a zone district that actually had a bed and breakfast. That was the Ivy Inn. And it made some clarifications that it encourages second floor offices and business, or second floor office professional business, which you approved before June. And there were some other little things like changing the definition of motion picture facility to theater and adding live performances to that definition. So somebody could have live performances in it as part of a motion picture facility. So that definition was changed. For some reason, I think probably when the zone districts were divvied up from one large commercial zone district into 5 separate zone districts, one of which has been eliminated, to not allow home occupations in Water Street East, which was kind of odd because home occupations are allowed in all residential zone districts. And why would you not allow it in a commercial zone district? And some other little things. Planning Commission spent a great deal of time looking at the intent of each section and the permitted uses. We did have one particular question about restaurants, why they would be permitted as special land use. Special land use for restaurants was required for city center, which is our most intense zone district under its definition and its intent. And they had to have a special land use. Yet in the Water Street East, where it's more residential in nature, it was permitted by right without a special land use. And I think maybe you might want to let Stephanie step in as the chairperson of the Planning Commission, but we learned a lot from going through the retro boats, special land use, and what kinds of controls that the Planning Commission could put on a new restaurant. And if this intense areas need a special land use, then the more residentially targeted neighborhoods could require a special land use instead of being permitted by right. And other little things. And again, I would encourage you to talk to me about it if you have specific questions. And I'm not sure if you want to let Stephanie chime in at this moment, but that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Sure. Stephanie, lastly, I would recognize you if you wish to have any other comments, or council may want to pose questions to you as well. Stephanie?
Hey guys, you caught me by surprise. I was not expecting to talk tonight. What did you want me to speak to specifically? I did.
If you wish to add anything to Cindy's comments, that'd be fine. Or if council would have any questions that you might be helpful in answering.
Okay, I don't have anything to add. I think she did a very good job of overviewing the small changes that we made to those specific districts. But and it was in June, and it is now the end of October. So I would need to brush up just a little bit to remember all of those changes in their detail before I spoke with confidence about them. Sorry.
To put you on the spot. Yeah,
Okay,
any
no
questions?
problem. Is there anything for me or anybody?
Okay, I think we're good. We're good with this, and we'll look forward to discussing these on November 9th.
We want to have a motion to place those on the agenda for October 9th.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Peterson,
Chris?
so move that we put the ordinances, section 0.35D, section 143, section 174C, and sections as listed on the agenda on the November 9th meeting.
Jane? Second? Moved by Peterson, second by Verplank to put these 4 items on the agenda for the November 9th meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Peterson?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Becken?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Lewis?
Yes.
Trester?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, we'll discuss these November 9th. We have no public hearings, no unfinished business. Under new business, the first item is a proclamation of appreciation for the Saugatuck Douglas Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I'll just read an excerpt from this proclamation, which we offer for your approval. Whereas the city of Saugatuck wishes to recognize that Saugatuck Douglas Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, a not-for-profit organization with the mission of promoting, marketing, strengthening, and developing the economic vitality of its members. And whereas the Saugatuck Douglas Area Convention and Visitors Bureau contributed $5,000 this year towards the Christmas lighting in downtown Saugatuck. And whereas the contributions of $5,000 from the Saugatuck Douglas Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, both in 2019 and 2020, were the largest donations received for Christmas lighting. So therefore be it resolved that I, speaking on behalf of the citizens of Saugatuck and the Saugatuck City Council, do hereby extend our sincere appreciation and thanks to the Saugatuck Douglas Area Convention and Visitors Bureau for their support of downtown Saugatuck and contributing so generously to the Christmas holiday lighting. Is there a motion to adopt that proclamation?
Mayor,
Yes.
I move we adopt proclamation number 21026-PI, a proclamation of appreciation for the Saugatuck Douglas Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Is there a second?
Support.
Moved by Pearson, seconded by Becken to approve this proclamation. And I notice Lisa Mays is in the audience today, and glad to have you, and you should know how much we appreciate your support here. Any discussion? Chris?
I'd just like to, again, thank them for that donation this year and last year, as well as our other donors from last year, and Catherine Simon for bringing it forward. I'd like to give you a quick update. As you know, the Christmas lights were a three-pronged process. The first was the tree wrapping, and then the swagging using Nick's Chip's ground cover with their crane. And then the third part was having a licensed electrician come in and do the final on the trees that had the lights going through, which they couldn't move within 10 feet of. The tree wraps are all done. We had the first look at the tree that was swagged by Chip's ground cover, and we turned that on. It looked really good. The height looked good. Maybe we'll add a couple more strands, but they're moving forward, and it looks like we'll be all ready to go by when we turn the lights on.
Very good. Any other discussion, questions? Then we'll call for the vote. Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Trester,
Yes,
motion carries.
the proclamation is approved. Lisa, we'll get this signed and present it to you whenever we can make that arrangement. Thank you very much for your help again. The next item is resolution number 201026A, the Fish Shanty Restoration Project Advisory Group. Karen, I think you wrote this one up. You care to take the lead?
She's muted.
I think you're muted, Karen.
Karen, your phone is still muted.
You're still muted. I guess you have to hit *6 to unmute your phone. There you go. No.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to go through the complete. It doesn't give you too much feedback. At your workshop, you had some volunteers to help Mr. DeRosa with the fish shanty project, and this resolution, those people to the project to be a liaison and the project, and maybe help in some way toward resolution of where to put it and where to store it and so forth.
Is there a motion for approval?
Mr. Mayor, this is Garn. Motion to approve resolution 201026-A as presented.
Second.
Who was that? Holly?
Second by Holly.
Moved by Lewis, second by Leo to approve this resolution. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Chris?
uh, just for clarification, this is, the resolution is to appoint the advisory board that will come back with possibilities for the restoration, but it does not put the cost of that onto the city council. It's purely advisory, because I'm assuming this will probably, next year go into our priority list up against all of the other issues that we might have available. Is that correct?
Well, I would read in the, what is it, the third last paragraph, that the committee is purely advisory and we could not commit the city to any financial obligation.
Good.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Then we'll call the roll on this, please.
Lewis,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Beckon,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Trester.
Yes,
Motion carries.
resolution is approved. The next item is resolution number 201026B to appoint a Eurasian Waterfoil Advisory Committee. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, this is Garn.
Go ahead.
Motion to approve resolution 201026-B as presented.
Second.
Peterson?
Moved by Lewis, seconded by Peterson to approve this resolution. Any discussion? I point out that as we discussed at our workshop last week, we have three very good representatives from the community to help us out with this. So I'm pleased that they all accepted. And after this resolution is approved, we'll notify them and get to work on it. Any other discussion? Then let's call the roll.
Lewis,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Beckon,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
and Leo,
Yes.
and Trester.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Resolution is approved. The next is the policy and procedure for remote and hybrid meetings. Aaron, would you wish to describe this?
After the Supreme Court declared that the rule that the governor's executive orders were not legal, the legislature followed up with new laws allowing for remote meetings, and from now through the end of it, it's pretty much the same as it was before under the EOs. Starting January 1, to continue remote meetings, there has to be a disaster declared for the local area or for the state. And after that happens, then certain rules how you can have remote meetings. It's not a lot different than what it is now, but what changes is that there has to be a local emergency. When that happens, you can have remote meetings, and you can also have hybrid meetings where you could have a quorum meet in person and then have up to 3 dial in on a Zoom call. So what these rules and procedures do is satisfy the legislation that have the process underway to actually do it, abide by how we're supposed to do it.
And actually, this is a requirement that we file these with the state. Is that correct?
We don't have to file them with the state, but we have to have them if asked.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, on their call today, MML urged us to get these going as soon as possible. Okay, is there a motion?
Mayor,
Yes, Chris,
I move that we approve the city public bodies policies and procedures for remote and hybrid meetings.
Second, Holly.
moved by Peterson, second by Leo to approve this procedure for remote and hybrid meetings. Discussion. Okay, hearing none, let's proceed with the roll call.
Peterson,
Yes?
Leo,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes, yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
and Trester.
Yes,
Motion carries.
there is no consent agenda, so we'll move to public comments on any topic. If you wish to make a comment, please either wave or unmute your mic and tell me who you are, identify yourself, where you reside, and reminder to keep your comments to 3 minutes, please. Do I hear Gregory Muncy?
Yeah, Mayor Ken,
Yes, Gregory.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Gregory Muncy, Saugatuck City resident, administrator of Sadaba, employee of Mill Pond Realty, back to the fuchsia flowers, and host of Sunday in Saugatuck Morning Radio on 92.7, debuting next month, focusing on small businesses and events and fun things happening in the Saugatuck Douglas area. I think I wrote this like it's a script. I'm sharing my comments today on the Wicks Park updates and renovations to the venue that has hosted events like Music in the Park for almost 25 years, and the recently added Art in the Park event that we've sponsored the last 3 years. I appreciate the comments by Mark Becken at last Thursday's workshop meeting and the relationship I have with all city council members who have taken the time to get to know me since I have served Sadaba and our community the last 12 years and have asked about my opinions updating Wicks Park. 5 to 6 years ago, Saugatuck business leaders, including Felicia Fairchild, who was then director at the CVB, myself and Sadaba board members, along with prominent business owners, were invited by Kirk Harrier to share input on the plan to update several parks here in the city of Saugatuck. And it was a wonderful where we drove around the engineering, forgive me, Landon Liquor, or I'm sorry, that's hard for me to pronounce. They took us around to all the local parks, and we had a city park plan as we were thinking about writing grants as a city, and you know how we're going forward with much needed updates to our parks. And I remember these updates have been much needed, and it always surprises me how many folks that when they feel misinformed simply because they just haven't been around, or maybe they don't know the history, or haven't been to those boring part of the meetings, you know, or they wait till the last minute when everybody's ready to make a decision. Over the years of facilitating Music in the Park, I've noted the deteriorating structure of the gazebo that many have coined as an icon of our area. And although the structure was built in 1976 and has an aesthetic feel, you know, with our unique, quaint architecture in town, it has been rotting out from the inside out. And, you know, we've got the switch box underneath there where they control the lights, and I've maintained to make sure kids aren't playing underneath it. And I've seen them replace wood over the years as it's rotting out. If you took a look under the undercarriage of this thing, you'd know it's really time for this thing to either be rebuilt, not just saved, but rebuilt as a better structure. I think that would serve our community much better. It has been time to update it, replace it for a while now. It's been a discussion for more years than maybe everybody might remember. Back when we had the original parks renovation discussion, a bandshell idea was brought up, along with the idea of opening up a larger view of the waterfront while allowing a better audience placement, not just for Music in the Park, but for like theater productions, community events, and also weddings that can produce income for the city and our businesses. And working with musicians over the years, we have come to discover the challenges of hosting concert events because the music kind of goes up in the air and not like, you know, directed toward an audience. And then also the complications of where to place the audience and band. As far as the safety history of the Music of the Park event, like, you know, our safety history the last 25 years, we've only had 2 incidences. And they were children falling from trees. You know, as much as we discourage kids climbing trees, it did happen a couple times, and we had an ambulance that nothing serious, you know, little sprain, or, but those have been the prime, you know, the only incidences that we've ever had on record for music. Now, we're not going to cut down the trees, I'm sure, but we still discourage, you know, kids to climb trees. One of the reasons for the bubble blowing is not just for me to have fun, because believe me, that's a big part of it, but it enables volunteers and myself to keep an eye on those kids and to know their direction, know where they're at. If you've come to Music in the Park the last 5, 6, 7 years, you've seen how I'm always engaging with the kids. We're always paying attention. Last year, the Allegan County Sheriff increased their presence at Music in the Park and would patrol that sidewalk area as well. So when we talk about redoing the park, maybe, you know, we could talk about maybe some kind of barrier that would be non-invasive. It wouldn't look too, you know, but that might be one idea. Now, while most folks,
you're hitting a problem, so why don't you?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead and sum up if you want.
I'll sum it up. If you want my opinion, I absolutely adore the design that gives nod to the historic pavilion, and while holding onto our historical icons, much needed update. I know I can be wordy. That's a way I believe the pavilion style shell would be ideal for Wicks Park, because it's that great. It's still keeping the heritage, the kind of look of the town. But it is time for an update to that park. As far as the bathrooms go, if you've ever been in a Detroit bathroom in a bad part of town, in a gas station, that's exactly what those bathrooms have looked like for years. It needs to be updated as well. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gregory. And we appreciate what you and Sadava does in holding those concerts. Anyone else wish to make a comment?
Mayor.
Scott Dean?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Scott Dean, 544 St. Joseph Street. Just regarding the earlier comment that the chamber, I'm sorry, not the chamber, the council is bound by its charter regarding the timing of the selection of the next mayor. It's also in the power of the council to amend the charter and to make.
I'm sorry, it's not.
Reflective, and to make it more reflective of the voters.
Yep. Well, the council could amend the charter, but we certainly couldn't do it by next week. It has to go through a public hearing and a whole big process. Cindy, you want to elaborate?
Yes, it actually has to go to a vote of to the ballot for a vote of the citizens to change the charter. Changing the charter is not a simple process.
All right. Scott, I interrupted you. I'm sorry. Did you have any other comment?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Todd Hoskins.
Yes, Todd, go ahead.
Todd Hoskins, 350 North Maple Street. I was just watching the news, and 11 minutes ago, the voting started to confirm Amy Comey Barrett as a Supreme Court justice. And the complaints against this process has been that it happened prior to an election. And I can't help thinking the irony of that you have even if you have to take it to the public in order to change our procedures for our mayoral versus our new elected council people being seated, that this is happening essentially in a lame duck session. And the Village of Douglas has the Monday after the election, both the new council people and the mayor election happen simultaneously. And it's long overdue that we change this. And I will, for one, will be telling the voters of Saugatuck that a lame duck election of a mayor does not look good for our city, nor does it look good for the council.
Okay, thanks, Todd. Anyone else wish to make a comment?
Can you hear me? This is Lieutenant Hill.
We can hear you. Could you identify yourself again and where you reside?
This is Lieutenant Enfield, the sheriff's office. I just came in late.
Okay, your number, I mean, your name didn't come up, just your phone number. I didn't recognize it.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I just I had my daughter's soccer game tonight. It was at 6:30, so I just checked on a little late. So, no, I just got a couple things. Obviously, it's hard to follow Gregory. He speaks so good. He's a professional radio person. So, Deputy Visser actually just this last week actually switched with Deputy Kling. So Deputy Kling is actually moving into the city and taking her position, and she actually switched and is going to be out on our general road patrol. This happened at our shift bid, and Deputy Kling obviously filled in this summer, so really there's not going to be any transition from with just a different personnel and stuff like that. So she obviously will be in the area still also, but should be taking the general road patrol complaints outside the city in which he actually covered before. So Deputy last week and a half ago, Deputy Floxter was up at Hound taking a person up to the hospital from a different call. While up there, he actually noticed some graffiti at a gas station, made contact with the gas station personnel and Hound Police Department, and they believe it's the same suspect that did the graffiti in town here just because of the markings and MO. So all those reports were turned over to Hound City. It sounds like they have quite a bit of damage up there also from different businesses with the same suspect. He also has been working on an embezzlement in town here over the last several days where he's interviewed several suspects and also recovered some stolen product from one of the local businesses. And then I got several reserves also scheduled from 5 o'clock until 2 a.m. on Halloween night. So, and that's about all I have to report. So if anybody has any questions or anything.
Any questions? Okay, thank you, Brett. Appreciate the report.
Yeah, no problem. Yep, thanks for allowing me to be a little late and stuff. Got to watch my daughter's soccer game. So,
did he win?
She, I think they tied it. At her age group, they usually don't keep score, but
Heads do.
Yeah, exactly. So,
anyone else wish to comment?
Mayor, I'm not sure if you can see it. There's someone with an iPad that's not, I don't know who it is, but they have their hand raised.
All right. Would you unmute yourself and identify yourself, please?
Yes, this is David Blandford, 306 Park Street. Can you hear me?
Hi, David. Yes, we can hear you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, you have my letter on record there. I did speak last council meeting about that, and I just wanted to thank everybody again on the council for taking the measures that you did this summer season, because even though we have a very vocal group, small group proposing these significant changes to Park Street, the actual enforcement, the additional radar signs, and just all around safety measures that were taken really improved this summer season. And I still think there's a lot more that can be done. And I hope that we will be able to continue that. Can you still hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, well, something cut in there. Anyway, I would encourage the council also to actually drive down the street. Now, the one thing that these three options don't address is what to do about the parking that they're going to take away from the people that live along the street, including myself. Because that's a huge issue that the engineering study doesn't address. And I just want everybody to see how tight it is in some of these stretches. And so even those options look great, or could, in an environment that allowed that to take place, but we all know what Park Street looks like. All three of those options really are problematic for those that live along the street. If you don't live along those areas, yeah, it's a great idea. But Park Street has been there for many, many years, and it's not set up to accommodate any of the proposed changes in that engineering study. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. I found them I really appreciate them. Anyone else wish to make a comment at this time?
Yes, my name is John Dart.
Okay,
And my,
second, John, and I also saw Doug Sandler raise his hand. Get you next. John, go ahead.
yes, my name is John Dart, and my wife Annette, and we own a home on Park Street as well. And we just found out about this bike path as well, which will definitely affect everyone that lives there, including ourselves. And we live at 347 Park Street, and we do not have a garage. We have a driveway that holds 2 cars, but there's also a telephone pole in the middle of our driveway. And I'm just wondering if the council and the team that has proposed this bike path considered other options, as I'm curious as to, number one, the width of the bike path, how far this bike path goes, and does it go to the beach? And will that street also be widened? So it doesn't make sense to widen Park Street if you're not going to widen the street to the beach, because that seems to be where people would want to go. And for something that's going to be used, or a bike path that's going to be used 4 months out of the year, it seems like a pretty expensive proposal. So is there a possibility to lower the speed limit even further on Park Street, and even consider other options like putting in temporary speed bumps for a 3 or 4 month period to slow the traffic down? I ride my bike on Park Street all the time. I don't feel threatened or concerned for my safety because of the traffic, but I do believe that the traffic does go too fast on that street. And to Dave Blanford's comment, I think a lot of progress has been made with the signage and the speed limit signs. So I'm just curious of whether the team that's responsible for proposing this has considered other options.
Thank you, John. I guess in answer, we haven't really discussed the findings of the team, the engineering study really in detail. That would be upcoming in the next few weeks. But I think we hear your concerns loud and clear. Mr. Sandler?
Thank you.
Thank you. I live at 255 Park Street, and I regularly use the road to ride bikes. My wife uses it to run. My children walk down it or ride their bikes. So I'm aware of the narrowness of the street and the fact that there are a lot of cars, especially that come down in the summer, that don't realize they're driving through our community. They're just going to a beach, and they could certainly go slower, and that would be appreciated. But I also live on a street that simply the way it's designed, because where the water is, there's a lot of houses packed in, and trying to take additional space would be extremely detrimental to many of the homeowners along the street, and possibly take away, their ability to park altogether. I also believe, though, that the goal of a bike path or anything of that sort is to provide a safer manner by which people can move in a recreational fashion. And I know the previous speaker mentioned a speed bump temporarily. There's also things called a speed hump. So a speed bump, you're going to have to slow down to like 10 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour. But a speed hump is about maybe 8 feet long, and it's a much more gradual increase and decrease. They have them in Chicago, they have them in Colorado, they're permanent. The plows can go over them. So I know that's a lot of concern, is that when you put a speed bump in, the plows can't go over it if you make them permanent. Put a speed hump in, though, not a speed bump. You can take those at 25 miles an hour, which is exactly our speed limit. And that would, but if you take it really anything more than that, then you're going to get a jolt as a driver. But if you take it at 25, you glide right over it. And so I believe that would accomplish what most of us want. Is at 25, people are driving pretty slow, And as somebody who's using the road and sharing it with a car, that you feel pretty safe in that environment. But when they start to go faster, when they start to go 30, 35, 40, then that's problematic. And I mean, I saw with some of the constructions going down, I saw an 18-wheeler with a big hoe thing on the back coming down the street the other day, and it had to be going almost 40 miles an hour. So those are the sort of things that a bike path doesn't really solve, is the semi coming down the road at 40 miles an hour. But a speed hump would reduce that and force them to drive at a level that allows for safety. So I don't support putting in the bike path, but I do support finding other measures. I gave one example, and I'm sure there's others that we could find collectively to accomplish that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Aaron, are you seeing any raised hands?
Nope, I think that's the last of it.
Nope. Okay. Then we will move to communications. We've already heard from Dave Blanford, appreciate his email. And Brett Ensfield has already reported. The other one is Fire Chief Greg Janik's data with regard to Park and Ferry Street. I thought it was kind of interesting to see the kind of incidents that occurred there, and the fact that the most predominant one are gas leaks and power lines down. That's kind of alarming. So there's that. Anyone care to comment? Then we will move to boards, commissions, and committee reports. Let's see. Mark, did the Sewer and Water Authority meet?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the Cal Lake Sewer and Water Authority Board met on October 12th. Our audit has been submitted to the state of Michigan for our fiscal year 2020. We contracted with PNN Labs to conduct PFAS tests that have to be done by the end of the year and submitted by April 3rd to Eagle as part of our annual water quality report. We have conducted lead and copper rule water analysis at 20 local residences. We anticipate that once Eagle reviews that information, the test results, that will end up in the 90th percentile for both lead and copper sampling, which is good. That's not a bad percentile. There was also, there's a large water project going on in Douglas in several locations. One address will be at McVeigh and Campbell Road, where a new water main is being put in, and there had to be a connection at the intersection of McVeigh and Campbell, which resulted in a shutdown of the water system to about 70 residents in that area. Unfortunately, quite a few of them were in the Shorewood district, which falls in the city of Saugatuck. They were on a boiled water advisory for about 48 hours. Some of them were a little perturbed, though those people are noticed out and they are kept abreast of it, but still it's no fun when you have to boil your water before you use it. But anyways, they're off the boiled water advisory for now, though there'll be another project later on to repair a bad valve in that general area. Not sure who it all will affect, but it's going to be another boiled advisory in that general area. That's about all I've got. Barry, do you have anything to add?
Nope. Well done, Mark. I was going over my notes and my agenda from that. You got it all.
Thanks. Okay. Who else has met? Jane, Fire Board?
The Fire Board met on October 19th. It was a brief meeting. We paid the bills. Really not much going on. There's been 89 fatal fires in the state of Michigan this year. That still remains somewhat high for as sophisticated as firefighting is. And other than that, we were glad that all of the municipalities have passed the fee schedule for the Board of Appeals. And that is just about it.
Thank you. Chris, did you have your hand up?
I
HD?
did. We had a planning commission meeting. I was unable to attend it. I think Cindy's already covered a lot of it, but Cindy, do you have anything new to add to that?
Well, no, I think we've covered it. There was just a few ordinance amendments. We will probably have another planning commission meeting in, I don't even know what month it is anymore, November. But I don't anticipate it being a large agenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, this is Garn.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just a reminder, the Tri-Community Recycling Committee is meeting tomorrow. The Zoom link is up under news and notices on the city page. And I know the township and the city of Douglas also have it posted on theirs. So that's tomorrow at 3 o'clock if anybody wants to listen in on the sharing of the survey results and see where the committee goes next.
Okay. The Harbor Authority did meet, and Karen, maybe you have notes from this. I attended by phone. Some of the things we discussed were the invasive treatment area and Douglas's project last year and the possibility of doing a joint venture this year. The Saugatuck Township's intent to join the Harbor Authority was discussed, and it's sort of in the lap of Douglas right now, which is considering financial contributions or financial or other contributions the township might make to join the authority. As you know, our council has said we don't require any. So if Douglas proposes something, it's something that we're going to have to consider in terms of our position on it. We talked about getting navigation lighting on the Blue Star Bridge. The bridge over the interstate is lit to voters, so you have red lights and green lights, and you know where to go at night. Ours is not, and we discussed the possibility of doing that there. Karen, do you have anything to add? Karen? Yeah.
Computer troubles. No, I have nothing to add.
Okay, thanks. I miss anybody? Okay, I think that's all the reports. We go to council comments. Barry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really don't have much comments, but I was having a problem with my Zoom, and one of the council people dropped out, and I couldn't find him in the participants. But then when the pictures came back on, one of the council members doesn't have their name on their screen, which I think for transparency, we should probably use names and not slogans. That's all I got.
Okay. Okay. Holly, I think you're next.
I have no comments at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
All righty, Mark.
All set, Ken, thanks.
Okay. Jane.
I'm good, thank you.
Chris.
I'm good.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, this is Garn.
Go ahead, Ben.
So I found the information from John Vanderbeek. He refers to his project as the Trail Master Plan. And as I have done every meeting now for several meetings, I'm requesting that we have John Vanderbeek please present to council his Trail Master Plan.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
I think I mentioned last time that I've been in touch with John and we're planning to make a presentation after the election. He agreed to that, and so did we. I'm sorry, Garn, I didn't, some reason, maybe your picture wasn't up. I don't think I called on you for comments. Do you have
That
any?
was my comment.
Oh,
That was
okay.
my comment.
All right, then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor,
Chris,
I move we adjourn.
second?
I second.
Second by Verplank that we adjourn. It's a roll call vote. Go ahead, please.
Oh, sorry.
You're muted.
Peterson,
Yes.
Verplank,
Yes.
Becken,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Leo,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Trester,
Yes.
motion carries.
Then we are adjourned, and I thank you all. We had 41 participants in the meeting tonight. That's an excellent participation. Appreciate that. Have a good evening, everybody.